families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Families Divided TV. In this week's segment, Lisa Rothfus will be speaking to us about self-care, the key to saving the relationship with your alienated child. We're also going to have a short segment with Bill Eddy, and he'll be speaking to us about some encouraging statements that we can use for ourselves. We'll share these with you right after these messages.
At Victor's Crown, our focus is on you, our clients. When you arrive, our goal is that you will feel at home, from our welcoming atmosphere to our serene surroundings. Everything we do at Victor's Crown is done with our clients in mind. We have comfortable seating areas for both adults and children. A large screen TV with surround sound where clients can be occupied with wholesome entertainment while they wait. We offer complimentary refreshments such as coffee, tea, water, and snacks. Due to the present COVID pandemic, our in-person appointments are restricted to selected cases, and those are held in our luxurious outdoor open-air meeting space that we affectionately refer to as the COVID Cabana, which was built specifically for our clients to offer them the most comfortable and relaxing outdoor space available. All our other clients are offered secured web-based telemed sessions where they can connect with us from anywhere in the world.
Welcome to SelfCare, the key to saving the relationship with your alienated child. My name is Lisa Rothfus, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Austin, Texas, with over 35 years of experience working with children and families. I specialize in reunification therapy and issues around alienation. I even have a 4-day intensive program for children who have been severely alienated. I worked for 9 years in the Texas family court system. My goal today is to give you a new way of thinking about self-care. Show you just how important it is to care for yourself, but also for the relationship with your child. But first, I want to tell you a story about a mom and a 13-year-old son in my practice. The mom and her ex-husband had actually been divorced for several years, and she had been the primary caregiver for the last 12 years before she lost any of her parenting time. One of the biggest issues in this case is that the mom and the dad had very different parenting styles, which happens in many of the cases that I work on. But there were other issues too. In addition to that, the mom also really had a lot of difficulty and conflict arguing with her son over his poor school performance. Too much focus on the school issues, and that was pushing her son away. Also, her depression. She was struggling with a lot of depression and significant mood swings. And when she and her son got into conflicts, these mood swings became extreme and were very difficult for him, pushing him away from his mom. And as we said before, her ex also disapproved of her structured parenting style. So after the change in custody, her son began to say that he didn't want to go to her house. And of course, her ex-husband said, "Well, you don't have to go if you don't want to go." And the father really wasn't willing to support the mom's possession and access schedule because he also felt the son would be better at his house. Mom overreacted. Mom was too emotional. Mom was depressed. Eventually, her son said he didn't want to see her at all. So I began reunification with mom and the son. And I immediately noticed some very important features about this case. The first was her incredible preoccupation with her ex's many faults, listing them repeatedly at all of our sessions. Her frustration with all the ways that her ex had prevented her from seeing her son, and focusing on the unfairness of her situation. It wasn't fair that she had lost this time with her son. She'd always been a good mother. She's always done what she needed to do to take care of her son. Her obsessive negative narratives that permeated our session. I'm never going to get him back. This is never going to work out for me. Well, it quickly became clear that her repetitive negative thoughts were seriously affecting her relationship with her son. So I had to confront her about her behavior, and I said, you really have two choices. The first choice is you can stay stuck in the negative thoughts, and you'll probably continue being depressed. You'll also struggle in the relationship with your son because I don't think he's going to want to be around you very much. Or you can accept the situation, as difficult as it is, and start learning how to shift your mindset. Stop dwelling on these negative thoughts. Replace them with more positive thoughts. Work on feeling more positive about your life. And then I think you will begin to improve the relationship with your child because he's going to want to be around you more. So this mom isn't unusual, and she represents so many of the parents I see being alienated from their children. It's so hard not to focus on the unfairness, the anger, the frustration of your situation. In fact, the brain is often so insistent upon looking at the negative in a situation that neuroscientists have a name for this called negative bias. So what is negative bias? Well, that's when the human brain has a tendency to give more importance to the negative experiences than positive or neutral experience. For example, you might go on a visit with your child and have 10 wonderful, amazing interactions, but maybe one interaction that didn't go so well. Unfortunately, when the child comes home and talks about the visit, they only focus on the one interaction that didn't go well, rather than the 10 that did. All alienated parents struggle with dwelling on negative thoughts. My child doesn't want to come to my house anymore. My son's always angry and disrespectful to me when we're together. My ex is always saying negative things to me about the kids. So what does negative thinking do to the brain when you're thinking these negative thoughts all of the time? Well, it actually activates a cascade of stress hormones, the biggest being cortisol. And when you have cortisol flooding through your brain, you become fixated on potential threats in your environment. You can't see the bigger picture or how your current behavior is affecting your life. At King's College in London, researchers did a study where they found that the habit of prolonged negative thinking actually diminishes your brain's ability to think, reason, form memories, and essentially drains your brain's resources. They propose that repetitive negative thinking is a common symptom of many psychological disorders. How does repetitive negative thinking affect you? Well, repetitive negative thinking is a common behavior in people suffering from depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, post-traumatic stress, and life stress in general. Repetitive negative thoughts can occur without us being consciously aware of them, and they consume our brain's resources. So it's not surprising that alienated parents experience repetitive negative thoughts. And also interesting, negative thoughts are actually addictive. Scientists have discovered that negative emotions have an addictive quality that trigger the reward centers in the brain. You feel like you're being rewarded whenever you succumb to your negative emotions. Neuroscientists' research has taught us one really important lesson over the last 30 years. And that is, what fires together, wires together. We now can look at the brain in ways we never could before. And they learn what fires together, wires together. The brain gets good at what it does. Negative thoughts create channels in the brain, And this thinking can become the default. If you do a lot of negative thinking, you wire your brain to be good at negative thoughts. Your brain also gets good at seeing the negative in all kinds of situations. So I want to offer to you today a new way of thinking about self-care. And this is what I call the inside job. Alienation is traumatic because it can color your entire way of thinking, your whole world. And you have to actively decide to train your brain in a new direction to lay down neural pathways to change it. You can't let yourself think about what you've lost, what you're missing, what isn't fair. You have to reframe how you think about self-care. Real self-care is about reaching a new mindset and reinforcing that mindset daily. So this new definition of self-care is about examining your thoughts. It's crucial that you look at your thoughts about your current situation. How are your thoughts affecting the quality of your life? Positively? Negatively? If you think all of these negative thoughts, what is your day like? Where are you stuck in your thinking? What negative narratives are you constantly reinforcing in your thinking? It's never going to get better. I'm never going to get to see my child again. Letting go of these persistent negative thoughts is actually a form of self-care. And you can't begin to take care of yourself until you take this step. Can you reverse hardwire habits? Well, actually, neuroscientists have found out, yes, you can rewire your brain at any age. There are 2 steps to rewiring your brain. First of all, you have to notice your negativity bias. And then you have to make a conscious decision to shift negative thoughts to positive thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and start talking about the first step. Step 1, notice. You need to notice your negativity bias. You need to bring awareness to this ordinary habit of the mind. We think hundreds of thoughts every day, and so many of them are negative. We have to catch ourselves when we slip into self-doubt, rumination, anxiety, fear. We have to notice when our mind starts to spin out worst-case scenarios about how it's never going to work out. What if I never see my child again? We call this metacognition, a deliberate, conscious control of cognitive activity, thinking about thinking, noticing what your thoughts are. That's the necessary step to shifting from negative to positive. So, what's a way for doing that? Well, actually, that's why meditation and mindfulness practice is so important. I know you've been told a lot of times that you need to start meditating, but there actually are very good reasons for meditating. If you can meditate even 5 to 15 minutes a day over time, this will significantly increase your metacognition. Meditation heightens your awareness, deepens your thought levels, and decreases emotional reactivity, which is particularly important for people who are being alienated, because we all know that the emotions work overtime. Sometimes they make you actually look like you're crazy. Not to mention that there's a limitless number of emotional, psychological, and physical benefits to meditating. If you want to try a fun way to learn about meditation, I invite you to go look at the Insight Timer app, which can be found on Android or Apple. It's one of the largest free applications for meditation. And when you go there, you'll see that there are many different options and choices. You can do guided meditations. You also can just listen to music. And they are different lengths. So 2 of the ones I might recommend is Gratitude Affirmation by Reverend Skip Jennings, which is just 5 minutes, or Wake Up Positive by Andrew Johnson, more like 15 minutes. Step 2, you need to rewire the brain. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to physically reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. You're going to hack the brain's reward system to change your habits, and that's where the real work begins. There are many strategies to take control of your thoughts and rewire the negative to the positive. But I'm going to talk to you today about 2 of them that I use in my practice all the time with adults and children. The first is called gratitude and appreciation, and the second is what I call a remembering the positive technique. So let's talk about gratitude. I know people talk about gratitude all the time, but there actually is a really good reason for focusing on gratitude. When you feel a negative thought coming on, I tell my clients, think instead of something you're grateful for. Your home, your church, your friends, your job, your talents, your community, your health, your strengths. And then proactively shift your thoughts. Practice appreciation and gratitude and go on a rampage of appreciation. There are a lot of ways to do this. You can actually keep a gratitude journal, which a lot of people choose to do. Or sometimes I tell my clients, just wake up in the morning and before you even get out of bed, start to list the things in your head that you're grateful for and that you appreciate. Just a few minutes of gratitude. It's powerful because it activates the reward center of the brain. Remember we talked about how you can get addicted to negative thoughts? You can also get addicted to positive thoughts. The second strategy is what I call remembering. I try to get my clients to remember a past experience or memory that made them really happy. I want them to see all the details in their minds. Where were you? Who was with you? What kind of things did you hear? What kind of things did you smell? How you actually felt. I want them to totally immerse themselves in that feeling and that memory for at least 15 seconds. That's how you rewire the brain. I want them to feel the feeling of actually being there. And then I tell them, try it again and think about a memory that made you really happy with your child. Totally immerse yourself in that memory. And then I say, do this daily before you get out of bed. Do your appreciation, your gratitude. Then think about your wonderful positive memory about your child. There are 2 reasons for being at the top of your self-care game. The first, if your child has begun rejecting being with you, self-care could help prevent your child from totally rejecting you, or could slow the progression of the alienation. Yes, you will still need support and help to prevent the alienation. But remember, what fires together wires together. And the more positive experiences you can have with your child, the more positive their feelings about you are going to become. Anything you can do to avoid unnecessary conflicts and stay positive will help the situation. The second reason for being at the top of your self-care game is because if you have already been severely alienated from your child, then it's particularly important for your own healing to engage in self-care. You need to be ready if your child does reach out to you and they want to restart the relationship. You don't want to be suffering from all of the depression, the anger, the frustration, the rage, stuck in the old narratives, because that's going to sabotage the very thing that you want most in the world. So this is about showing up for yourself every single day. If you really want to be the best for your child, you need to dedicate yourself 100% to your self-care. Are you ready to assume a new mindset? Are you ready to try meditation, journaling, and even increasing your skills? So what do I mean by increasing your skills? Well, oftentimes people who are struggling with alienation really need a lot of extra support. They need a therapist who really understands his high conflict, parent-child contact problems, or alienation. There are a lot of great therapists out there, but not all of them really understand this particular area. You need someone that can help you to find the right ways to interact with your child. There are several really good books for helping with this as well. Surviving Parental Alienation, Co-Parenting with the Toxic Ex. And By reading these books and meeting with a therapist, you can prevent yourself from engaging in behaviors that would negatively impact your connection with your child. So, self-care helps you to survive. It's actually the best way to survive being alienated and keep a better relationship with your child if you are fortunate enough to still have one. So I'd like to go back to my case study again and about that mom and her son. After I pointed out to her that if she wanted to improve and keep the relationship with her son, she first needed to do her own self-care. So we met, and I helped her to start becoming aware of her negative thinking and the narratives about her life, that things were never going to get better. She was never going to get her child back. We worked on retraining her brain to be more positive, using gratitude, appreciation, remembering. She started learning how to regulate her emotions. I taught her how to do meditation, a mindfulness practice, and she particularly got on top of her emotions whenever she was with her son. She began focusing on the positive aspects of the time she had with her son instead of thinking about all the time she had lost with her son. They began laughing more together and had private jokes. And she redirected her obsessive thinking about her ex to more positive thoughts. So, I'd like to tell you that this has had a happy ending. They have successfully reunited, and they're actually still doing very well today and spending more and more time together all the time. And by taking care of herself and feeling happier around her son and about her life, her son is enjoying being with her more now than he has in a long time. So ask yourself, where am I with my own self-care right now? What steps could I take to improve my self-care? Start working on the inside job and notice how your life begins to change. My name is Lisa Rothfus. You can email me, lisa@rothfus.com, or visit my website and see some of my other YouTube videos. Thanks for joining me today.
Families Divided will return in a moment.
So I'd like to talk about encouraging statements. This is a skill that anyone can learn to give themselves. And what you do is giving yourself an encouraging statement is often something people forget about or just don't realize. You can change your own mood. I was a therapist for 12 years, and one of the things I helped teach was how to change your negative mood by changing what you're telling yourself, what your statements are to yourself. So an encouraging statement might be, I can get through this. I've gotten through hard times before. Or, I'm a good parent. I have a lot of good parenting skills, and I love my kids and they love me. You can tell yourself these things even when there's an alienated child or children, so that you don't bring yourself down. By boosting your own mood, you can actually, because emotions are contagious, boost the moods of the people around you and also boost the mood of your child if you have contact with your child. But it's very easy for parents who've been rejected by a child to give themselves negative thoughts that change their mood. And so you want to give yourself positive thoughts. There is hope. Many people are going through this today. I'm not alone. Those types of thoughts. Now be careful you don't muddy up the encouraging statement by putting something negative into it, like, well, things would go better if somebody else would do such and such. That's not an encouraging statement. You want to say something that's totally positive and something that you have control over. So I'm good at communicating. I'm very persistent. I'm well organized. Look at my information. So positive statements. Sometimes people call these affirmations. I like encouraging statements because that's pretty clear what it is. Now, sometimes you can put Post-it stickies, little yellow Post-it stickies on your bathroom mirror to remind you in the morning. Things like, her upset mood is not my fault. Things like that. Or the negative things I'm hearing are not about me. So you can put up that kind of cognitive boundary between what other people are saying and doing and feeling and what you absorb. My favorite one, of course, is, remember, Bill, it's not about you. And when people attack me and they're angry about something, it's people that lack the skill of self-management. They could solve a problem without trying to attack somebody personally. And that's often how you know it's not about you, is when it's a personal attack. It's problem solving. That's about you. You want to solve a problem. When someone just attacks you, you're the worst so-and-so, you can tell yourself, remember, Bill, it's not about me. So that's just a little bit of how you can change your mood. You can also teach this, if your parents, grandparents talking to each other about a child who's resisting or refusing contact, you can discuss this. Give yourselves encouraging statements. Remember, there's a lot of people going through this, and all the time we're hearing stories about children coming around and turning this around. So there is hope, and there's a lot possible. And the reality is your child loves you even if they can't tell you that right now. So good luck with that. Practice that. You can write them down. Like I said, Post-it stickies, whatever it takes. Boost your own mood. You don't just have to depend on other people to help you feel better.
Join us next week on Families Divided TV when attorney Jordan Traeger talks about attorneys for the children in cases of parental alienation and what is in the best interest of the child.